Well, that was interesting. Anyway, hey there, guys. What's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another one of my TV episode reviews. Guys, this is it. We have come down to the final wire. We have one more episode left of this show airing next week, the season finale, and then we're done. It's unbelievable how fast the season has went by. Nevertheless, guys, I am going to, of course, in this video be reviewing the newest episode of True Detective. This is True Detective Season 2, Episode 7, Black Maps and Hotel Rooms is the name of the episode. I'm going to go into heavy spoilers, guys. Second to last episode of a show like True Detective, you know I can't do stuff like this without spoiling anything. And yeah, I think most of us were pretty impressed with the way things ended with last week's episode, myself included. I think last week's episode was one of the better episodes. Overall, I thought this, so far, the second half of the season in general was one of the best things going for this show, and for this season. And you know, first half was a little let down, bit of a letdown. And I really enjoyed episodes 5 and 6. So I knew that 7 was going to be intense. I knew this was going to be epic. You know, that's what I was hoping for. That's what I wanted. And before I guess I get into the, you know, whether or not I liked it, or whether I liked it, or before I get into the positives, let me get into one of the negatives, some of the negatives of tonight's episode. First, starting off, the line, "everything is fucking," is used. Yeah, someone actually wrote that. Nice job, Nick Pizzolatto. No, seriously, the missing girl that they found last week in last week's episode, she uses that line when she's talking to Annie. She's like, "Everything is fucking." I cringed. Was that a good line? Be honest with me, guys. Okay. Okay, other negatives. I can't find many. Positives. Holy shit. Alright, guys, I'm going to cut to the chase. I love tonight's episode, okay? This is how the entire season should have been, in my opinion. This edge-of-your-seat tension throughout the entire episode, every single one of these character storylines tonight. I would say the only one who didn't have the most importance in his own singular story tonight was Ray, and that's because they're saving up his story for the season finale next weekend. Every other character, though, every one of their stories was exciting as hell, and seriously kept me going at the edge of my seat. I would say the first half or the majority of this episode is really just catch-up characters catching up with each other, telling them what had happened in the end of last week's episode, and they're dealing with the repercussions of the fact that Annie, Ray, and Paul broke into that party, or well, Annie did, and they found the missing girl, and they escaped, but now they're going to obviously deal with some serious consequences because of that. That's what the first half of the episode deals with. Then the second half, we're finally getting into things. Our characters are really starting to finally put the final puzzle pieces together for this big mystery, for what's going on here. And I'm just like, well, it is about time, guys. But I kid you not, guys, this was one of the best hours of television I've watched all summer. I've watched 3 shows this summer overall on TV, and those were this, True Detective, Under the Dome, I don't know why I still watch that show. That's why I don't review it. And Halt and Catch Fire, which is a great show. This is probably the best hour of television out of all of those. Yeah, everything worked for me tonight, guys. Everything. Pacing, acting was great. The story, we're finally figuring things out. They're finally unraveling things in this highly convoluted plot. One of the worst things going for season 2 was that it is very convoluted. It is. It still is, in all honesty, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's confusing. I'm just saying there's literally so much. There's so many factors. It's like overkill, basically. Sorry, I'm taking water, guys. Still not that easy for me to talk for a lot because I have my wisdom teeth pulled out. Anyway, I'll do my usual character breakdown, I guess. But I really want to talk about the episode in general. That's what I feel like doing tonight, and talking about several elements that were either revealed or talking about character decisions, motivations, whatever. But I guess I'll start off with Frank first and just get into his stuff, because I always do Frank first. Why not? But Frank, this was also probably Frank's best episode. I'd have to give it to him. It starts off. And I don't remember one of the first things that was going on with Frank. I think maybe Ray comes by and sees him. Yeah, that was it. And tells him everything that went down. And Ray still wants to know the identity of this guy who gave up his wife. And Frank tells him, "I'm going to give you his name at the end of the day." And Frank's bullshitting him around here. At that point, I thought he was. And then we find out something else later on in the episode. I'll get into that. But we do find out that within those documents that Paul stole last week, it was all business. Basically, the Vinci is corrupt as hell, and we've gotten hints of that throughout this entire season. But all the officials are corrupt as hell. It's basically this group of guys, we find out, they were all involved with Caspier, and one of them or all of them were involved particularly in his death. And it involves Osip, Frank's, not overseer, but some rival businessman that Frank he was in the first episode. I'll talk about Osip, though, later. I'm not too happy about that character. Mayor Chisani, the mayor, and then the other guy... Oh boy, I can't remember. Now, two sheriffs, or two of the Ray's police chief, Holloway, is involved in all this, as well as Dixon, of course. But we knew that. But yeah, it was really Chisani, Osip, and I gotta look at my notes. I really can't remember the other guy. Osip, yeah. No, that was it, actually. I was right. But yeah, Caspier, Osip, Chisani, they were all involved in deep shit, as well as Frank's one of Frank's head guys, Blake, the guy that that Ray had been tailing, and he has a very prominent role in tonight's episode. So we all find out they were involved together. They're involved in that rail line crap, and Frank and Ray realized that obviously that all of this had to do with Caspier's death, and all of these guys, specifically Osip, wanted Frank taken care of. Wanted him out of this whole business. Dealing with the railway. He wants to. We later found out Osip wants to take over Frank's businesses, namely the casino and the club that Frank owns, and that was an interesting little showdown, even though we don't know much about, or we haven't gotten to see a lot of Osip, and a lot of these characters are not well developed at all and did not have a lot of screen time. It's one of the only things I gotta knock about this, not just tonight's episode, the season in general did not do a good job of building up these characters, in my opinion. And yeah, that's how I feel overall about that. But I think the really interesting Frank stuff happens when his head guy Blake comes by. This is after the whole meeting with Ray and everything. Frank now knows that, this guy Blake has been involved in all this stuff. He questions him about it, tortures him, slow-mo shot of him throwing the glass in his face. And he admits everything, this Blake guy. We finally find out that, Osip wanted to screw Frank over, and they were involved with Casper. They wanted to push him out. So maybe Osip, and Chisani were the ones who actually did kill Casper. They didn't want Frank to have anything to do with this whole business, and they wanted him to take all his money, essentially. That's what it looks like they're going. And Frank kills Blake, shoots him, shows his wife the whole grisly murder and everything, and then eventually has that whole meeting with Osip at one of his casinos, and Frank does have one last chance to get money back, though. Apparently, they're selling off everything else that Casper had. Why they've waited 6 months to do it is beyond me. But it's the next night, so obviously Frank has a whole nother night after he gets everyone out of his casino and everything, and out of the club, has them evacuated. He lights everything up on fire, and I'm assuming it's to get back with Osip for everything, because Osip wants to take over all these, all of what Frank has owned, the bar and or the club and the casino. And, so that will also give him, control of drugs and everything, transport of drugs, as Frank was doing with the Mexican guys, as he started with them. So, I mean, Frank had to do it, and I applaud his character decisions tonight. One of the best things going with Frank tonight. I stand by them. I support him. I was pleased with them overall. I admire his decisions to really burn down his livelihood. I mean, he takes all the cash with him. Yeah, that's fine. But he's going to really try to get all this money back where they're selling off all of Caspier's stuff. So maybe he's going to try to get even more money that way. But the things aren't looking that good for Frank. I don't know if he's going to really make it out of all this. Probably not. Honestly, right now, with the way tonight ended, I don't know if I see possibly one character surviving all this, maybe two, but again, I'm not really entirely certain. But Frank's storyline was great tonight. I thought it really worked for me. Yeah, now getting into the other storylines, specifically Annie and Paul's, I'll get into. Ray is just, the three of them are basically in hiding at this point. They ambushed the party, and they got out of there in time, but now people are looking for them. Okay, they can't really bring the information they have found to the feds. They can't really, just bring that. I know where the girl that they found, Vera, she doesn't want to testify anything, even though she tells Annie everything that she knows that severely has helped the case. I'll get into that in a little bit. But they've got a case. The thing that sucks is they reopened this whole thing right when they had closed it. They reopened it with the DA, not the DA, district. No. I can't remember her name. Davis was her name. The detective from Nightcrawler. She's I don't know if she was the DA. I don't remember what her title was. So all these roles were forgettable. So many characters this season, guys. But after Ray finds her dead body tonight's episode, he was going to present her all this information. This is their only person who was running these three. They were secretly trying to follow out with this. With this case, finish it, and find out who killed Casper. And they have all this new information, and he goes to give it to her. She's dead. That actually shocked me. I jumped out of my seat. I didn't see that coming. And I saw the blood on her chest, and I was like, damn, they're screwed now. I mean, the stakes were high tonight's episode, and I think that's what really worked for me. They're really on their own. They can't go to the feds. Annie is wanted, essentially, because of who she killed when she was trying to fight her way out of the party. And our characters are down against the wall in tonight's episode, Ray, Annie, and Paul. And I got to give it to this episode for doing that. I mean, it raises the tension. The stakes get higher. You feel nervous and everything. And I felt that as I was watching tonight's episode. And it honestly really, really paid off for me, guys. One of the other big things about tonight's episode was safety of loved ones. That's something I severely noticed in tonight's episode. Everyone involved in, whether it was Ray or whether it was Annie or Paul or Frank for that matter, everyone involved in this whole case is trying to get their loved ones out of this whole mess. And they fear that they're coming after them or they're in danger. With Paul, we have him trying to get his wife, or his fiance, excuse me, and her mother puts him in a hotel, doesn't trust anyone at this point, fears that anyone could come after them, especially with the text message he starts receiving of him and that friend from the Black Mountain group that he was in. He slept with him in end of episode 3. Well, start of episode 4. He wakes up in his bed. His Black Mountain friend. There's some pretty incriminating pics of him embracing him, them taking each other's clothes off. And someone sends this to Paul's phone, and they're blackmailing him, essentially. That's what makes him get his fiancée and his soon-to-be mother-in-law in the room, in the hotel room. Now, wait, was that Ray's? Was that Paul's mother? It might have been Paul's mother, actually. I'm just thinking about it now. I don't know. There's so many. You know what it might have been? It might have been Paul's mother. That's right. Yeah. Why would he get the mother-in-law? That don't make sense. Yeah, we only saw the mother-in-law once. Yeah, that was Paul's mother. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know, guys. I gotta get with it. I gotta get my facts straight. But yeah, that was Paul's mother and his fiancée, or Emily, in the hotel room. Then we got Frank telling Jordan to go off. Stay safe, lay low. And Annie doing the same thing to her sister, Athena, and her father. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am strongly starting to think that, and someone mentioned this last week, I think, in the comments, or I saw it somewhere on Twitter or something, that it was Annie's father who raped her. Because we all know when she starts telling Ray, in the first scene in this episode, about her whole experience at the party, she mentions that when she got out of the woods, she couldn't believe she got out of the woods or something along that line, and Ray's like, what the hell are you talking about? And she was getting into her rape when she was kids. We all saw that guy in the last week's episode, the flashes she had of his face with the long black hair. And then we see her father again tonight, and although he's older now and his hair is more grayed, I can see David Morris's character, Elliot, her father, having black hair and having been her rapist. But she forgot about it. Apparently she hasn't known this person, and it was odd for her to have those flashbacks because she never remembered the face of the guy who raped her for whatever reason. Maybe it scarred her that bad. I don't know. Maybe drugged her? I don't know. But it would be interesting if it was her father, and all this time she trusted him. I don't know. I'm just saying that because he has long hair. He could have had black long hair. It could have been her father who put her in the tent in the RV. I don't know. But she gets her sister out of there. She gets her father out of there. Her sister especially, because she posed as her sister at the party. So that's obviously not a very good thing. All they would have to do is take account of everyone who's missing. They'd find the name Athena, and they would go after her. So, Annie's got to lay low. Her sister and her dad leave. But Annie specifically has got to lay low because she apparently is... Paul was looking on that database. It said she was wanted for questioning for murder of a security guard, and I'm assuming it was the guy she knifed like crazy. So yeah, that was what was going on with Annie in the first half of tonight's episode. And then when she finally sits down and talks with this missing girl, Vera, who apparently loves and gave the wonderful line, "Fucking everything is fucking." Apparently loved being at these parties, didn't want to be rescued or anything like that. She didn't feel she was missing. She liked being a part of that. She tells, he fesses up to Annie about how, Caspier was involved in all that, and Chisani and all them, and she's like, would you go before a trial? And she's like, no. And I'm like, alright, of course, that'd be too easy. So, these guys have to find just concrete evidence as to who killed Casper, and then they get the case. They can actually go to the feds. Now that Davis is dead, their backs are really against the wall here. And again, that was one of the strongest high points of tonight's episode. When Paul finally, however, gets looking into this whole case, he looks into the 92 diamond robbery. Now there was this whole robbery that they explained that they spent way too much screen time on last week, and I was just like, why is this important? So I didn't really not pay attention to it, but I didn't take much note of it. I didn't even write it in my notes, and I didn't really even mention it in last week's review. But there was a 92 diamond robbery Excuse me. Again, another plot point that is just in there, and I don't know, feels like it could be taken out. Was introduced way too late, in my opinion. Wasn't stressed enough. But anyway, there was a 92 diamond robbery. I think there was a double murder involved, and there are 2 kids as a result of this who were basically orphaned. And everybody was saying it was Mayor Chisani's 2 kids. Laura, and I can't remember the other kid's name. Maybe Luke, I don't remember. And that's what they're assuming in tonight's episode. They're like, maybe it was Laura and Luke, because they find out that Dixon and Holloway, Ray's chief, were both involved in the 92 diamond robbery, and Caspier was also involved. So at some point they think along the lines that maybe Dixon and Holloway were the ones who knocked off Caspier in order to sell off the diamonds, and I guess clear their names, from all this. But they shoot that theory down. I'm still leaning towards Osip and Chisani in some way. Maybe they got men to kill Caspier. Obviously, it wasn't Amarillo, who's dead, and they even said that whole Amarillo thing, Lito Amarillo, that guy they killed in the shootout, was all set up by Dixon. I'm still really trying to connect all the pieces, though, with that, and I think that's one of the only things I'm still trying to do with tonight's episode. Again, that's one of my only flaws. I mean, you really got to just sit down, use your brain, and connect all the pieces of this entire show. And there's so many. I mean, like, it's not even funny that you got all the pieces you got to connect of what's going on and who's involved with what. So many different characters. But anyway, not really complaining. I loved this episode as much as I did. But by far one of the best moments of tonight's episode, not just because there was, a showdown and a face-off, but it was when Paul went to go respond to these text messages and met his friend in public. We find out that his friend and I think a couple other Black Mountain guys, they meet with Paul underground LA in a series of tunnels, and this one black gentleman walks out, and I feel like we've seen him somewhere on the show before. I can't remember, but apparently they've been watching over Ray, Paul, and Annie since day one. They're all involved in this somehow as well, because they were the ones who took obviously Paul's friends set him up when the two of them slept together. Someone snapped their pictures, and that's how they used Paul to blackmail him. But what they need right now is the documents that Paul stole from the party that they just got out of. And Paul's like, trying to what's that word? Oh, I'm thinking of this word. Deflate? No, not deflating. I can't remember. Reflecting? No. Whatever. Paul's stalling. It's a word for stalling. I can't think of it right now. Deflecting. Deflecting, I think, was the word. And, saying, I'll call Ray up and I'll have him meet us somewhere and I'll have him hand over the documents, blah, blah, blah. He takes that, the black gentleman hostage and, gets involved with a shootout with these guys and is running for his life in the tunnels, manages to kill them all, and he even has one of the other guys shoot his friend, his close friend from the Black Mountain group, who he slept with, right in the head. And Paul is at this point like looking scot-free, like he's out of this situation. He got out of this shootout alive. And we keep intercutting between what's going on with him and Ray and Annie, who are currently held up at that hotel. They're just talking. They're having a quiet moment. And Annie goes and tells him something along the lines of, "You're not a bad man." And the two of them just start getting really tender and everything. They start making out heavily. We can assume that they end up having sex. It's the end of the episode before we find out what happens to them. But it's inferred. They start harassing each other and everything. They fall down in bed. We get the picture. And as Paul finally comes out of the tunnels and gets out into fresh air, some guy standing behind a door caps Paul right in the back, falls to the ground, and is reaching for his gun. The guy's letting him crawl to it, and then it just shoots him again and kills him. Paul's dead. And I gotta say, although that was a great death and I didn't see it coming, I really thought Paul was gonna make it out of this and into the finale. The only thing that I'm disappointed with that is that I really just wanted to see. I feel his storyline isn't concluded. You know what I mean? His fiancée is left in that hotel room. She was watching Splendor and Grass with his mother. And she has no idea that I wanted her to receive some sort of closure. But in a way, whenever she has Paul's baby, it's going to be nice that, or not nice, even though it would have been nice for Paul's son to know who Paul really was. And he even tells his fiancée some point around in this episode, I'm just trying to be a good man. So his secret life is going to be secret forever. That guy who killed him took his phone. Maybe he could maybe he'll text Paul's fiance. Maybe he'll go after them himself. I don't know. I think he's really his main concern is going after Annie and Ray. I think that's his biggest problem at this point. Or that's his biggest concern right now. But that's how the episode ended, guys. I gotta say, it was a great way to end it. Not too sure how happy I am that Paul's gone yet. I mean, I'm satisfied. I feel his journey went somewhere. I feel he went out like a boss in a way, even though he unexpectedly was shot. I was overall satisfied with his final stand. I thought he was very worthy. And he was one of the most intriguing characters. I would say that's why it would be the most disappointing that he's dead right now. But other than that, guys, we have ourselves set up for a finale. I really, at this point, just want to get to the bottom of who actually killed Caspier, because nobody knows that. Like, they know that Osip and Chisani, they were doing dirty shit, and the Holloway and Blake and Dixon, you know, all corrupt. All of them were involved with Caspier in some way. I just want to know who actually did him in. And that's all I really want to know at this point. And also who raped Annie. But this was one of the best episodes of the season, guys, if not the best episode of the season thus far. I'm going to go high. I'm going to go 9.5 out of 10. The stakes were high, although everything is incredibly convoluted at this point, and there's just so many people involved with this whole Caspier thing, this whole diamond robbery thing that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. All of it, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what it all means and who is involved in what specifically, but I'm not going to hold that against tonight's episode because that's not the episode's fault. It's the season as a whole did a very poor job of juggling all of this stuff from the beginning. So there you have it, guys. Very impressed with tonight's episode. High pace, well shot, just really good. The storylines were exciting. Frank's storyline was great. Annie's whole thing is slowly unraveling. I like where it's going. Paul's final stand was great. Detective Davis's or DA Davis's reveal, her death, that was a big shock for me. So I was overall pleased. With that said, guys, what did you think of tonight's episode of True Detective, Black Maps and Hotel Rooms? And what do you think is going to happen for the finale, guys? We have ourselves set up for a finale. What do you predict? You think Ray and Annie are going to get out of all this? Who do you think actually killed Caspier? My money is still on Osip and Chisani at this point. Maybe they got two guys to knock them off. I don't know if it was Dixon and Holloway. We'll soon to find out. I actually, for 1 second, thought either Annie or Ray were involved somehow in all this, because we have a close-up shot of Annie's hands holding Ray's hands right before they get intimate, and she had a ring on her finger, and I thought at first, was that the Black Mountain symbol? Was she working with the guys in the tunnel? I'm like, is she going to double-cross these guys? Has she been working both sides from the beginning? But we don't know. But I at this point, I just want to know who the hell just killed Caspier. So guys, leave me your predictions down below. You think Frank's going to make it out of all this? Let me know down below, of course. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week for the season finale review. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.